Brady, man, this guy has never had so many weapons. And I know I keep talking about my Bucks, but deal with it because that's how we roll. But they have not had – he's never had this many weapons in his career. Okay, think about his career. You know how long he's been playing. He's never had this many weapons, and that's why the guy's the GOAT. Okay, look, this dude won Super Bowls with Danny Amendola, Wes Welker. Okay, this is not Brandon Marshall. Okay, this is not Randy Moss. Okay, even though Randy Moss did play for him, but they didn't win it. You know what I'm saying? So get off his jock because, look, Peyton Manning has always had more weapons. Keep that in mind. Reggie Wayne, Edgerrin James, okay, the list. Dallas Clark, the guy had tons more weapons all the time. So don't even get me started on that. You know how I feel. We already talked about that before. So anyway, just keep that in mind, man. The Bucks are going to roll. I can't wait to watch them play. It's going to be a lot of fun. So anyway, it's really an honor to do this show and bring these kind of things to you guys. And hopefully in the future, we're going to keep doing this. We've got a lot of interviews lined up in the future for you that you're really going to enjoy. And as the NFL starts to kick in, we're really going to kick it into overdrive and bring you stuff, especially down here in Brazil, where it's not real easy to get these kind of interviews. We got a lot of access that people don't have, and we're going to have a lot of fun with it. So we're going to get right to it. We're going to bring on Joe Burnett to begin with. He's known as Smoking Joe Burnett. He's a DB who was an All-American at the University of Central Florida and is known for his amazing kick return ability and speed. He was named the Conference USA Special Teams Player of the Year as a senior. He graduated in 19th place for most career punt return yards in NCAA history with 1,304 yards. That sum is both a UCF and Conference USA record. He set the UCF record and ranked second in Conference USA history with 16 career interceptions. He also set UCF career records for most punt returns and the most interception return yards while tying the mark for most punt return touchdowns. Man, he was drafted by the Pittsburgh Steelers in 2009 and also played for the New York Giants in the CFL. Let's learn more about Joe Burnett right now.
Tried to split everybody out. UCF burned on the screen twice, not a third time.
Been an interesting game of ebb and flow as it pertains to Tulsa's offense against UCF's defense. After Tulsa had it going on 3 straight drives with scores, they've been stymied somewhat in the last couple.
Mark, really, they're not doing a lot different. It's just they're playing with more fire and passion.
There's Kindred's punt. A high spiral coming down to the 33, fielded by Burnett. Oh, Burnett got a seam, got the punter to beat. Smoking Joe Burnett. Touchdown.
Keep your helmet on. Keep your helmet on. Yeah. Throwing flags.
Such the regular punter for Tulsa will come in. Smith's first punt was not a very good one. And this will be Burnett, who is the pick master and also the punt returner, and he breaks loose. Got a key block. And it's going to be a touchdown for UCF. No flags. .83 yards for Burnett. And a couple of missed tackles at the top. Andre, they had him early, and once he broke the containment around the 20-yard line, he was gone.
Yeah, he was actually directing traffic, and he's been Conference USA first team all in the punt return department 2 years in a row. The guy has just a knack for doing it. We talked about him being the pick master on the outside. He has 6 interceptions. That is tops in Conference USA.
And meantime, down behind the play, it's Nelson Coleman. the all-time leading tackler for the Golden Hurricane.
Yeah, they can't afford to have him injured.
Well, wasn't he the player that they were blocking, and when he was directing traffic, I think it was Coleman they were trying to block, or he was just a couple of yards down away from that area.
Yeah, Burnett picked up several excellent blocks once he came out of the heavy traffic area, and then it was off to the races. He outsprints one Hurricane to the end zone, but I'll tell you, he's got to give it up for some teammates that threw some nice blocks down in front of him.
Torres chips in the extra point, and a big start for the home team, trying to win their first conference championship, the Knights of UCF.
Well, you watch Joe Burnett here just taking the football and watch him break tackles, make a guy miss, spin out of one. Now, it's all athletic ability at this point. Now he's directing traffic, and he's going to pick up some nice block right there along the way, and now it's just a foot race to the end zone.
That was Waters, the receiver, number 6.
Yeah, he outruns John Warren, a safety that's trying to track him down from inside, but you see him directing traffic right there. Nice block on the outside, and now it's just the...
Joe, man, it's so good to finally get you on. How's it going, brother?
Man, things are going great, man. I'm glad to be on. I appreciate you having me.
No, it's a pleasure, man. Like I said, as a former UCF player, we're always trying to get our Knights in here. So it's really an honor, man. Some of those replays bring a lot of memories, man. I know they do for you, because I remember sitting in the stands watching you do your thing, man. It was something to behold.
Definitely, man. A lot of memories there from UCF. It's always died gold and black for me. I miss it there, and always rooting for those guys.
It's so good to have you on. And like I said, let's start by getting into your personal life before we get into your career. Where are you from originally, and when did you get into the game of football?
I'm from a small town, Eustis, Florida, right outside of Orlando, about 45 minutes away, and I started way back when I was 6 years old. I remember got an older brother who played ball in the city league, Pop Warner's. And I used to hang on the fence and used to cry because they wouldn't let me play. They said I needed another year or whatnot. And I was always, eager to be out there with him, just running around and stuff like that. But once I turned 7, played on the Mighty Mites, and it was, history from there.
Now, you had a great career in high school, like you said. We talked a little bit off the air, but, not only did we play at the same college, but we used to be in the same conference in high school football. So playing in that pit down in Eustis, man, I think I told you, my last year there, I played against Bayfus McCoy, and we lost in double overtime, man. I tell you what, it was unbelievable playing them. But, afterwards, I'm sure you had a lot of offers. What ended up helping you make your decision to go to UCF?
Well, for me, it was close to home. I had, being from Eustis, small town, it wasn't a lot of recruits that was coming out to Eustis at the time. And I had one other offer, University of South Florida, and Auburn was looking at me heavily, but I was only offered by UCF and USF. And I decided to go to UCF, a little closer to home for me. My parents can get to come see me play and stuff like that. And I knew at the time that, that position was wide open and I wanted to play right away. There was an incident that happened at USF that deterred me from going there. And I decided UCF was going to be home, and best decision I ever made.
Yeah, man. You can't say USF on this show. That's for damn sure, man.
Right. That's an I-4 rival, man.
Yeah, man. Now, your teams at UCF were really kind of the beginning of a fantastic run. Now, they had a little bit of a valley there towards the end of George O'Leary's career, but, you guys won, the first conference championship. And, in fact, UCF was actually just named one of the top 25 teams in the country for the last decade. So how does that make you feel knowing that you're a part of that history?
That's huge, man. Like you say, coming in, UCF was 0-11 at the time. We probably lost a few more games when I got there, but breaking that streak, I think of 17-game losing streak, And just a complete turnaround from there, going to the Hawaii Bowl, competing in the conference champ at the time. A huge turnaround for the program, and just to see how far it has grown now, being a part of it, knowing that, O'Leary's first recruiting class, which is my class, 05, just started things and got on the straight path from the beginning to where we are now.
Yeah, let's talk about that for a second. I forgot about that game. Now, you guys played Nevada, I think it was, right?
Yep.
How was that going all the way over to Hawaii, man? That must have been just legit. My God.
That was awesome, man. I really enjoyed that. That was my first time, going anywhere on a 14-hour flight, straight through or whatnot. That was miserable, with a bunch of personalities and stuff like that. But we enjoyed it, man. We enjoyed every second of it, just seeing, different area, different place or whatnot, and then playing Nevada. I think I can't remember if we won or lost that game, but Brandon Marshall, I think Mike Walker. So one of those guys went down, but Marsh had a great game that game. And just being over there and enjoying that week to ourselves, was awesome, man.
Yeah, it was. I remember. I think you guys lost actually, and it was like a last second. Now I think our guy clanked an extra point that would have won it, or I can't remember.
Yep.
Yeah, man.
Matt Prater.
It was Prater. What the fuck,
right.
Matt Prater, man? You set the record in Denver,
right.
And then you clank an extra point, man. Come on, bro.
Yeah, that's right. It was a real good game, back and forth between them.
Yeah,
I remember that. You're right.
But that was an exciting moment because that was the first bowl game. People don't realize, when you do something for the first time, like for instance, my brother's team was the first team in '87 to go to the playoffs. They played in the Division II playoffs, and they got to the semifinals and ended up losing to Troy. Actually, it was Troy State at the time, but. And then you had my team, which didn't do shit, and then and then you got your team that's doing that, and then now, I mean, hell, the run that they're on right now is just unparalleled. And so it's really exciting to see the growth. People don't realize, how young this university is. It's basically 40 years old. So. To go from where we are to now one of the top 25 teams in the last 10 years, that's just an amazing run, man. It really is.
Definitely.
So right after this, UCF, you get drafted in the 5th round by the Pittsburgh Steelers. Tell me about the emotions of that day, because it don't matter if you're the first round, second round. If you're going to the league and you get that call, especially to a team like the Steelers, you must have been just hyped. What was that like?
Oh yeah, man. That was one of the best feelings ever, just to hear your name called across the screen. You enjoying a big party and whatnot with your family and friends and stuff like that. And then you get the phone call, everyone is cheering and stuff like that. Man, that's awesome. It's only 3% make it, you were part of a percentage that actually, got to go to that next level. And, just a great memory, once I got the phone call.
Now, let's talk about the Steelers. Now, you had an amazing opportunity to play for not only a historic franchise with their history, some of the amazing DBs that they've had. Your coach, Mike Tomlin, actually used to be the DB coach at Tampa. What was that experience like when you first got there, just to kind of soak that all in? Because, you walk in and you see 6 trophies and you're like, damn.
Right.
This is the Steelers. I mean, this ain't going to Detroit. You know what I mean? This is like they got some things to live up to. So what was that like for you?
You're absolutely right. And that's exactly what I did. I walked into the trophy room. I had to get a picture of it or whatnot. But just like you said, it's jaw dropping just to be around, that tradition and stuff like that. I always thought about NFL going into it. There's a lot of nagging and a lot of hazing, a lot of older vets, trying to make sure that the younger guys don't take their position, their job, But Pittsburgh was totally different, man. It was actually no hazing and stuff like that. It was a bunch of veterans trying to bring the young guys up. And that tradition, just being around that brotherhood, that feel of things, it's like a family.
Sure.
And still to this day, like I play with Ryan Clark, I still talk to him and follow his son now, who's actually getting ready to go to college and stuff like that. Real good DB. Ike Taylor, I still talk to him. Will Gay, some of those guys.
Yeah.
Troy Polamalu, I used to sit right beside him, was able to see how he studied and stuff like that. But he's one guy I wish I could talk to more, but he's so antisocial, stick to himself, all about family, real religious, quiet guy. So
that guy was an absolute animal, man. I mean, I remember watching him, especially, just on crazy plays where he would just run to the line of scrimmage and jump over.
Oh yeah,
and just be like, man, like the guy had no soul, man. And
all instance too, man. All instance,
Yeah,
it's crazy. You can walk into a DB meeting room and your DB coach tell you not to watch Troy Polamalu. Whatever you do, don't watch him. This is an all pro, all star, all league, Hall of Famer, and your coach tell you don't watch film on Troy. Isn't that something? It's all instance.
Yeah, because I've seen some interviews with him where he's got out of football and he was talking about the Hall of Fame and stuff, and he's like, look, I would bait quarterbacks. I would sit over here and make the quarterback think I'm in this, and I'd still be 15, 20 yards away. Yeah. And then I would just make a beeline because I watched so many hours of film. And so he's telling him about it. And I'm like, damn. I mean, just like you said, it's just the instinct just to have that feel for the game was just incredible.
Oh, yeah. Awesome football player, man.
Yeah.
Awesome football player.
Now, as I said in the beginning, you are an amazing special teams player, man, with your kick and your punt returns. Even like I said, the interception returns. What are some things you feel led to your big playability? Now, obviously, you had the speed, but talk about obviously your vision and your ability just to break it out, man. I mean, because you used to handle it.
I really stayed humble, stayed hungry, and I put a lot of work into it, and I realized, like Troy Polamalu, when you watch film and stuff like that, you pretty much train yourself mentally and let your ability go out and shine on, when the lights are on. It's no, big time secret or stuff like that. You are locked in, you go into a different world or whatnot, but it's all instance. It's all instance, and some stuff, like they say, you can't teach. It's all instance. You just click to another level and your will to win.
Yeah, it's amazing. The greatest kick returners in history. You talk about what's the guy from? My God, I'm having
Devin Hester.
Devin Hester. Howard. As well. The Rocket, Ishmael, these guys like you just have that. It's just another gear that you guys are just hit, and it's like everybody else is like either a statue or in slow motion. I used to hate special teams. Come on, I'm a defensive lineman, man. And they'd always put us on there. It's like shit, man. I don't want to do this.
Right.
And I just when you play against a guy like you. It's impossible because people don't realize it's not necessarily the overall breakout speed. It's just the shiftiness. It's the quickness.
True.
And it's the agility just to kind of navigate in those little, once you see a crease, you're gone. And, and you guys have no fear because come on. Yeah, I know you've gotten your bell rung a few times, returning the ball. So you just you got to have that knack, and it was just something really, really cool to watch. So,
definitely, I have to take a couple shots here and there. It's part of it.
I know that I've taken a few shots. I've got, in fact, Robert Jones used to play for East Carolina when we were playing him. I remember on a kick return, that guy hit me so freaking hard. I don't even remember running to the sideline, man. I mean, my bell just got rang, and he ended up going to play linebacker for the Dallas Cowboys. And I got to the sideline, and Paul Lounsbury was like, "Slack, what the hell are you doing?" I'm like, who's slack? You know, so, I mean, it was that's all I remember. So yeah,
Trust me, I know that feeling.
Now the game today for DBs has changed. You know, they're calling a lot tighter than before. Than back when you played even, and it's difficult to be physical with receivers. So. How were you able to adjust? Because, they changed some rules as well when you started your career in the NFL. But even now, things have gotten even a lot softer. It's almost like the NBA. It's like you can't touch these guys. How hard is that for you as a defensive player?
It's really hard, extremely hard, and definitely even more so in Canada, with the yards they give. With the running start that the offensive guys have, and you have to be a certain yards before you can touch them after 5 and stuff. You can't touch them after 5. You have to train your eyes and be real disciplined with your feet, have good feet and stuff like that. But it gives the offense such an advantage, man, that it makes it a highlight reel for them, sometimes.
Yeah. Yeah, It's almost like it's turning into an offensive league.
Right.
Nowadays, because they want to see points on the board, but it's like there comes a point in time where it just gets out of hand. It's like, my God, let these guys play. My God.
Yeah.
Now,
definitely.
What are you mentioned a few of your teammates, but who are some of your other favorite teammates? Throughout your professional career.
I mean, growing up, I used to watch Antrell Rowe that played at Miami. And I used to always travel to Miami while I was in high school, going to watch him. And then, it was always my dream to play with him one year and just be his teammate or whatnot. And I got my chance to over in New York Giants. And
wow.
He was, exactly what I thought he was, a stand-up guy. His knowledge of the game, just like a Ryan Clark, Troy Polamalu, one of those guys. He played a physical game, always in the just a stand-up guy, and he was one of those guys that took you up on their wing as well.
Right.
and pretty much, gave off knowledge and stuff like that. And, I all respect and hats off. And it's a lot of guys who are like that too, that play with different teams and stuff like that, that you don't realize the brotherhood, the tightness of it, just trying to bring each other up. Trying to survive. Right.
I've seen that, the camaraderie. I've done a lot of interviews, with NFL players and from playing in college and stuff, and you talk to a lot of the guys, and it's like, man, yeah, okay, game day, you guys aren't really the best of friends during the game, but then afterward, man, it's all love. I mean, everybody's like, talking about family and love and, trying to help each other out. Then during the off season, and you're seeing a lot more of it now as well. You got players working with other players from other teams, and it's really cool to see, because people don't realize, the subtle things that you can learn, especially from veterans that have been around. I mean, come on, Antrell Rowe has been around for a while, when he played. So, just, hey, turn your hips this way or take a step back this way. And it's like, wow, holy crap, it's stuff like you never would have thought of. So that's really cool to hear that they do that.
Definitely.
The WFLA, which is the Women's Professional American League Association, they're going to begin playing in 2021. How do you think this type of league will translate in 2021? And if you were coaching them, what are some tips that you would give? Now, we talked a little bit about it, off the air, but the Women's Professional League, they're not joking around, man. They're looking to have 32 teams. I think they have about 12 or so signed up and ready to go so far. But these ladies can flat out ball. They got players coming from Australia, from here in Brazil, from the UK, from Guam, from a lot of different places, Portugal. When you're talking about that kind of thing, I think personally they're going to do really well. But what's your opinion on women's football and how it'll do next year?
Right. I don't know. I haven't heard much about it, but I think, if women that can get out there physical, have the, talent or whatnot to compete, why not? Go for it. Go for it. It kind of funny thing. Kind of remind me of that the movie Joanna, man, where you start get men crossing over trying to play in the same lead or whatnot to take over and be that all-star like that movie Joanna, man. But I say why not? I think it'll be okay. If they can get things together or whatnot in the upper office, then it may be all right. Maybe a good lead to watch.
The game here in Brazil is extremely popular. It's it's the third largest television market behind the United States and Mexico. And it's still growing. We have over 250 full pad men's teams here. I actually coach down here, and but I can tell you, DBs are an area that really needs work, especially on a fundamental level. What are some suggestions you might have as a former player, especially at a high level that you played at, that players that are just beginning? Now, you would have to take this down to probably like the middle school, high school level, as far as some things that you did when you were really kind of just getting going that they could do to, work on their game here in Brazil.
I would say the biggest thing that I didn't learn till late in my career is really studying, your craft and studying those who are elite in that level at your position. Really study their technique and how they train and stuff like that, and lock into it becoming a habit, and that's pretty much, like I say, watching film and stuff like that. I didn't learn all that stuff until later in my career, but I stayed focused on my craft. I studied, I trained, I tweaked this, tweaked that, and just became to a second nature of the things I did and the things I do on the field or whatnot. And that's everything, not just running and hips and stuff like that. I train my eyes a lot and watching what I see and being disciplined and stuff like that. And it stuck with me to get to that next level because the focus and timing of things are so much faster. So that training has to be a second nature to yourself when you're trying to get to the next level and competing with guys who are on that level,
Sure. Now, training camps have opened up, around the league, especially the NFL. I'm sure UCF will open up here in a few weeks. As a former player, I know for me, like I know I was talking about off the air, tomorrow I can remember like it was yesterday. I got a letter from my dad going into my senior year in high school telling me, staying there is harder than getting there. I had a great junior season. And I remember, like I said, like it was yesterday. I wish, he was still here to talk about it. But, a lot of us get, really kind of sentimental around this time of year because we hated it. Come on, let's be honest. Training camp sucks. I mean, especially at UCF because, man, you don't know, but back in the day, we used to ball out, man. We had practices 3 times a day for the first week. And I had Coach Lounsbury on here, who used to be the offensive line coach there. And, we were laughing about it because we had practice at 7, 2, and 6 o'clock in full pads, Monday to Friday. And then that Saturday we had a full scrimmage. And people look at us now like we're crazy. Like, come on, you guys didn't do that. And I'm like, yeah, we did, man. Because everybody now, you're just practicing once a day. It's not the same. But, for you, is there a lot of nostalgia there? I mean, how does it feel when the season kind of rolls around?
You never get used to training camp. I hate training camp. It's a lock-in that you just dread, that, but it's mandatory. You got to go through it. It's one of those times where you just beat your body up, and it's like you can't stop. There's no end. Or when is the end gonna be here? And every day is a all out 100% full go game day. It's a battle. You're fighting for your livelihood. And I couldn't stand training camp. I couldn't stand training camp.
It's like, please God, I'll go to church at least once. Just get me through this. Get me to the ice bath, please.
Yeah. So many things, that led to that. But other than the brotherhood and when you're off the field, the joking and the being around each other, those things, of course, you love, you grow with, that's how you bond and stuff like that. But just the torture that the coach get the opportunity to do, for hours if wanting to, and I've been around a lot of disciplinary coaches, George O'Leary, he was tough on us. And I think we did some of that 3 times a day practicing and stuff like that as well, but it paid off. It definitely paid off. So, Coach O'Leary, I'll definitely always take my hat off to him. And I appreciate that disciplinary that he installed and was trying to do.
George O'Leary, I think he had a kind of unceremonious exit, but he did a lot for the university and really kind of started that process to get us where we're at today. And I say us because once you're a Knight, you're always a Knight. And
absolutely,
it's really amazing to watch what's happening there. I watch the games all the time. Everybody knows that comes on this show knows we're going to talk UCF football, and I'm really looking forward to hopefully we're going to have some sort of a season this year, and hopefully Mackenzie Milton gets a chance to come back and play, even though that freshman's a hell of a quarterback as well.
Right.
And so we'll see what happens, but we're going to let you go in a minute. We're going to put you through the Slack Attack rapid fire section real quick here. Let me see. Cups of coffee in a day.
I would say probably about 4 cups of coffee in a day, or 1 32-ounce cup. Driving that truck, man, I need it staying up, up and down the roads and the highway, hauling loads and stuff like that. I drink a lot of coffee.
That's pure gasoline, man. Holy cow. All right, Drake, Kanye, or Meek?
I would say Drake. I like Drake.
Favorite Netflix series?
Oh, that's a tough one. I watch a lot of Netflix. That's a tough one. Right now, I think I just finished How to Get Away with Murder, and that was a good one. The one with Olivia Pope. I try to watch the ones that's a lot of series. While I'm driving and stuff, I get a peek at a Netflix series there. But there's a lot of them I watch.
I gotta ask you on a side note: have you seen Dark?
Dark. No, I haven't. I have not watched that one yet.
Man, I can't.
I should watch it.
That show is driving me berserk, man, and I hear people love it, and that's why I started. And once you get into it, your mind is going to be like, it's going to be blown, man.
I got to check it out. I have to check that one out.
It's crazy. I'm not going to, give it away, but just like I said, once you watch the first episode, you're going to be like, shit, I got to watch the next one and the next one. Then it's one of those things that goes in like 20 different directions. So it's really cool. Favorite travel destination never been to?
I'm not a big traveler. I mean, soon here, I'm looking forward to going to the Virgin Islands, but I'm not a big traveler.
Yeah, Virgin Islands are nice, man. That's just north of here, man. It's nice. You got to come down to Brazil, man.
Yeah, definitely.
Brazil's got.
I got a guy I grew up with who he's been to Brazil, do a lot of music actually for the soccer team out there. I think it's Sao Paulo Corinthians or something like that.
No, Corinthians is in Sao Paulo. That's the city that I'm in now. Yeah.
Okay, that soccer team there, they're well known, right? Big soccer team.
Oh, Corinthians is huge. Yeah.
Yeah. I got a friend who did a song for them or whatnot when they won the championship. I think a couple years recently or.
It's about 3 or 4 years ago. Yep. Yeah.
He's right here from Lake County, man.
Oh, that's pretty sweet, man. That's cool. It's a small world.
Right.
All right. And favorite food after 2 a.m.?
Peanut butter and jelly.
Look at this guy, man. That's awesome, man. Hey, but Joe, listen, man, I really appreciate you taking the time. If you get a chance to catch up with Kevin Smith or B Marsh, for sure, tell him, man, I'm knocking on their door. I keep emailing them saying, hey, we want him to come on the show. My partner, Victor Mega Hugo, is a huge Brandon Marshall fan, man. So it would be a huge honor to get these guys on as well. I'm always giving love to my UCF players, so that would be awesome. But I really appreciate you taking the time and, wish you nothing but the best, man.
Definitely. I appreciate you having. I reach out to those guys, man, and see if I can get them to come on for you.
That would be awesome. That would be awesome. All right, man. You take care.
Take care, man. Appreciate you having me.
All right. All right. So, yeah, that's wow. Joe Burnett, I remember watching this guy play in a hell of a talent, man. And when it's one of the best players I've seen play for the University of Central Florida. And it's really, really something exciting to have him on and be able to kind of reminisce a little bit about the team and just to see where they're at now. Like I said, UCF is so young. Our next guest, played for a team that's been around longer than UCF has even been mentioned. So with Minnesota. So, UCF has really come a long way in a short time. I love how they're upsetting the mold, and they have a hell of a team. It's hopefully they're going to get a chance to play this year with all the COVID stuff going on. But it's really nice to watch the generations. My brother's team, then my team, now his team, and then what the team looks like now. It just the evolution's been fantastic. So that was really, really exciting to have him on. And man, if you had a chance to ever watch the highlights of some of this guy's returns as well, Jesus, I don't even know how he did it. So, all right, so our next guest, man, we finally got some things figured out. One of the things about doing a live show is you always have some quirks and things pop up, but this guy is going to be worth the wait. He's nothing short of a legend. He was one of the leaders of the Orange Crush defense of the Denver Broncos. He was a member of 3 Super Bowl teams, a 6-time Pro Bowler, and 4-time first-team All-Pro selection. He was inducted into the Denver Broncos Ring of Honor and has been voted as one of the top 2 best linebackers in the history of the Broncos franchise. Quite certainly he's going to be in the Hall of Fame as well soon, but let's take a look real quick at Karl Mecklenburg. All right, Karl Mecklenburg. Well, first of all, sir, it's an honor to have you on the show. Thanks so much for joining us.
My pleasure, Sean. I'm excited to be here.
Karl, before we get into your storied career, let's talk a little bit about your personal life. Where are you from originally, and when did you first pick up a football?
Sean, my dad was in the Army when I was first born, so we were out in Seattle, moved around a little bit, but I grew up in Minneapolis. So I grew up in Minnesota. I was 10 years old when I started playing football. My dad's got a story about it. He said he had rounds. He's a doctor. He had rounds that first game and got there a little late, and I was already done playing. He came and thought I would be upset that he missed the game and put his arm around me on the sidelines and said, asked me, "Hey, Karl, what do you think about football?" Now, I'm a 10-year-old kid. My response was, "Dad, I really love to smash guys." I was already a linebacker. It was from then on, but I wasn't really good. I mean, I was kind of average. I didn't even make the varsity team until my senior year in high school. Played JV football as a junior. As a senior, I was all-state as a tight end and a defensive end, but I was only 6 feet tall and 200 pounds. I grew 3 inches and 40 pounds in my first year of college. So I went to a little Division II school, Augustana College in Sioux Falls, South Dakota, on a 1/3 scholarship, with the understanding if I played well, I get a full scholarship. I grew the 3 inches and 40 pounds. I got good, and then they took away my scholarship. they said, "We know your dad's a doctor. He can afford this school. We're going to take away your scholarship. Use it to bring someone else in." So I left Augustana and I walked on at the University of Minnesota, and had to sit out a year, and then played for 2 years. I earned a scholarship in that redshirt year, and then things took off from there.
Walking on to a school like that, obviously since you were from Minnesota and stuff, and what was that like as far as, you think that helped you in your career, because you kind of played with a chip on your shoulder your entire career, and I got to assume that was a part of that.
Yeah, that was. I'd had to prove myself everywhere I was. I mean, I had to prove myself in high school. We had moved I was a sophomore, and we had moved in, so I wasn't one of the guys. And then at Augustana, things went really well. The coaching staff just tried to take advantage of my situation. At Minnesota, same thing. I struggled, fought, earned the scholarship. Led the Big Ten in sacks, tied with Andre Tippett my junior year. My senior year, we were 3-8, and no one threw the ball against us. It's hard to pass rush if they throw the ball against you. So what are you going to do? I was the 310th pick of the NFL draft. I was a 12th rounder. So Dan Reeves gave me a shot, and I took advantage of it.
How was your adjustment once you did get into the NFL to the speed and the ferocity of the game? Because and that being said as well, did anybody on the Broncos team kind of take you under their wing the first couple of years? Yeah,
it wasn't really a hard adjustment for me. It was actually a better situation for me in the pros. Every step up in football is a step up mentally. From high school, you got 10 plays and you just do them. In college, they put in the system at the start of the year, and it doesn't matter who you're playing against. That's your system. That's what you're going to do. And the pros, it changes constantly. We had 120 different defenses, each with adjustments on it that changed week to week. And if you weren't bright enough to keep track of everything, it doesn't matter how big or fast or strong you are. If you don't know where you're going, you got no chance to get there. So it was better for me, actually. And then they moved me to linebacker 2 years into my career, and that was the big jump. I was a third down pass rusher and a special teams player at first. A couple years in, they switched me, and I made the Pro Bowl that year as an all-pro linebacker. That was my position. Nobody knew it until Joe Collier saw something and said, "Hey, we think this guy can help us there." And we had a need there, and it worked out.
Now, as you said, you were drafted in what is known as the quarterback draft. The one that saw the Colts trade John Elway to the Broncos. And during your rookie season, did you have a sense that this guy, John Elway, was going to be one of the greatest QBs of all time? And did the team kind of get that sense as well and kind of rally around that fact?
Not early on, truthfully. Early on, I mean, he had an unbelievable arm, always had an unbelievable arm. The work ethic he had to develop, because he had been such a great player. He was always the best guy in the field his whole career, and he got to the pros, and that's not necessarily so, right? You got to study, you got to prepare properly, and it took him a couple years, but yeah, I mean, once he got rolling, once he understood the system, once he got in sync with the receivers we had. It was tremendous. I mean, as a defense, you could take all kinds of chances. You could do all kinds of. If you got behind a couple scores, that's all right. John will start passing. We'll catch up.
Come back.
so we had the opportunity to do a lot of things other teams really couldn't do, because once they got behind, they were done.
Yeah. I mean, your defense was amazing. You guys had earned the moniker the Orange Crush. What made your defense so special, in your opinion?
I think more than anything, it was Joe Collier. Joe Collier was our defensive coordinator. He was a guy who was great at identifying somebody's skill set and putting them in a position to be successful. He was meticulous in his film study. He would make all kinds of different adjustments based on what that team did on down and distance, and put you in a place where just tackle the guy with the ball. You're going to be there. He'd overload this and overload that, and it was tremendous. When he got to the point where he was moving me around all the time, I played all 7 defensive front positions, sometimes in one game, and he'd move me. He'd put me at the point of attack. I don't know how. I guess it was from his film study or whatever. But he'd put me at the outside backer, put inside backer, defensive tackle, defensive, move me all around. And as a defensive guy, what would be better than to be at the point of attack every play? What a great opportunity for me.
Yeah, every time you turn around, it's like, hey, the ball's coming my way, man. All I gotta do is light this guy up. Let's roll.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so cool, man. Wow. Now the drive, take us back to Cleveland, man. 1987. It's cold. The defense has played hard. You've had a decent game. The Broncos are down by 7. It's late in the fourth quarter. And the kickoff from the Browns pins you guys on the 2-yard line. Arguably, this was one of the greatest moments in NFL history. So as a player on that team, can you walk us through your emotions as you just watched that moment unfold?
Well, it started before that. We got there on Saturday and went down to the field, and you got to understand at that time Cleveland was really depressed. There was nothing going. It was just, I think we saw one person driving between the hotel and the stadium, and it was 3-4 miles. A drunk guy wearing a wool dress with glasses on with one piece missing out of it, like passed out against a wall. That's all we saw. There was a photo mat booth. You remember the old photo mats? It had been changed into a bail bonds booth. We drove by. It was just dumb. And we're staying at this downtown hotel, and that night the Browns fans drove around our hotel all night long, honking their horns and barking at us, trying to keep us awake. We go on Sunday morning to the game, and that whole empty stretch that between our hotel and the stadium was lined with Browns fans, cussing at us, throwing dog bones at our bus, yelling and screaming. It was us against the world. It was unbelievable. Yeah. And you go in there, and the locker room's an old baseball locker room, so it's meant for like 25 guys, and you got 2 pairs of shoulder pads stuffed sideways in this thing, and there's no. You hang your suit on the pipes, and this. It was just it was a dump, man. And then you get out on the field, and there were footprints in the mud that had been frozen from the last game, and they hadn't changed anything. It was
the field was a horrible dump, man. Oh my God, I remember watching the game. One of the fields down here looks better than that. It was that bad.
Oh, it was in terrible condition, and the wind blowing off the lake and cold, like you said, and the fans just wild. There was dog bones on our sidelines, milk bone dog biscuits, like 6 inches deep. Our equipment manager gathered up a whole bunch of them. He brought out some garbage bags and gathered up a whole bunch of them. And I brought home 2 of them for my dog. 2 bags of dog bone. It was great. So after all that, and we get down to just keep it close. And at the end of the game, we're going to win this thing.
Right.
We'd seen it before. Elway was as good as there's ever been at that 2-minute drive. The game plan every week was run the ball, play defense, control the other team, and score at the end and win. That's what we did. Yeah. And so we expected it to happen. But you got to realize that drive tied the game.
Yeah.
That didn't win the game.
No, I remember. Right. Yeah. It was 2020. Yeah.
Right. So, and we lost the toss. Cleveland got the ball. We went 3 and out, stuffed them, and Rich Carlos kicked that field goal that went right over the top of the uprights. I mean, it was just right. I still don't know whether it was good or not, except that the ref did that, and we're like, well, it's good. We're going to the Super Bowl.
Let's get the hell out of here.
Right. I've been a professional speaker for 15 years. Last year was the first time I ever got invited to Ohio to speak.
Oh, God.
I thought they had pulled my passport for Ohio. But it was for Kansas City Life, which, they booked it out of Kansas City. I guess they don't have that Ohio fear of a Bronco guy. So it was good.
You kind of, motivated me to ask you another question then, because I have to ask, because for me as a player, I can empathize with what you're saying with, the field conditions and the fans and, talk about, what was it like before you went on the field to play? I mean, did the coach say anything you guys had to be juiced, because you not only are obviously you're playing to go to the Super Bowl, that's one thing, but, the fans have been doing this to you. They lined the field. They've been keeping you up all night. I mean, you just must have been ready to just kill somebody before you guys got on that field. I mean, what was the locker room like before the game?
Well, it was packed. We were like stuck on a bus or something. It was tight. We were just getting ready to play the game. The thing about football, especially at the pro level, is if you don't prepare your mind, and if you're not present, if you're not there every moment you're on that field, you're going to get hurt. You're going to get lit up. I mean, if you're thinking about dog bones hitting in the ear hole or what, I mean, who cares? I got a 300-pound man across from me who's trying to tear my head off. I mean, it's a different, right? It's the focus is, all that goes away once the ball is snapped. So coming in, it's like, this place is a dump and whatever, but we got this game, and if we win that thing, we're going to the Super Bowl. And what young football player hasn't dreamt of that their whole career? To have a shot.
So and speaking of that, because you see the field goal, you see the referee's arms go up. What was that like, man? What was that like? Like, man, I'm going to the Super Bowl.
I was freaking out. It was so cool. Just to be a part of that team and a part of that group of guys that had struggled and fought and done everything we had done to get to that point, and then to have it come true. So many players come and go in the NFL without ever getting a sniff. And the chance, I played in 3 of them, and we were 2 plays away from a 4th. I mean, we were a really good team, and we had lots of opportunities. Unfortunately, we couldn't finish the deal, but to have those chances and to be in that environment and to play with those guys and struggle and fight and have that happen as a team was really special.
Yeah, look, you won 3 AFC championships. You went to the Super Bowl 3 times. And, obviously we're not going to talk about, your feelings about the games, because everybody knows that. But it still has to be a moment to where you sit back with a lot of pride and be like, man, I played in the world's biggest game. I don't even know how you put that into words.
No, you're right. It's overwhelming. One of the reasons I think I'm able to be a professional speaker is that I've been embarrassed in front of the whole world numerous times. So I don't care if I say the wrong thing when I'm up speaking. Hey, that's all right. It's been way worse. I can deal with this. So I
don't know whether to laugh or to cry with you, man. I'm just like, I want to put my arm around you. Come on, bro. I remember every minute of it, but
it was tough. Yeah, and each of those games there was a different reason. Each of those games, it's a funny game. You go out there and you do your best as an individual, but how you do as an individual isn't necessarily how the team does. Whether you do a great job or whether you do a poor job. I mean, that's one of the great things about football is you learn how to be honest and forgiving with yourself, to watch film with your teammates and get called out right in front of your teammates, and they're getting called out right in front of you, and everybody's learning and trying to get better. So that's something I miss from football. that straight honesty, that sports mentality, whatever you want to call it, where no punches are pulled, and it's understood that the coach is hollering at you because the coach wants you to be better.
Yeah. And how special it is, as a side note to that, because, okay, so you didn't win the Super Bowl, but then a few years later, John Elway goes and wins his first. Now, obviously, you weren't on that team.
I was in the stadium.
You're still a Bronco. Yeah, exactly. And you played with him. So did you kind of feel like, man, this is part of my story as well? How good did that feel to watch that?
Anybody associated with the Denver Broncos through the years had a huge monkey off their back right there. I mean, that thing, all of a sudden, we're not the Buffalo Bills. We're not the Minnesota Vikings. We're champions.
Yeah.
And I grew up in Minnesota, watched the Vikings lose all those Super Bowls.
All four.
Right. So I didn't think that game could be won. Right. so to see that happen, it was a special thing.
I can imagine, man. Wow. I played defensive line and you played linebacker, and, playing linebacker, we talked a little bit about it, the attitude and the absolute energy and the violence you need to bring to be successful at this position is unheard of. And the game here in Brazil, it's young. It's about 15 years old, and defensive players are still learning the game fundamentally, not even talking about formations and other things of that nature. But coming from someone who's a 6-time All-Pro and future Hall of Famer, what would you tell players here that you need to bring to the table to be a successful linebacker?
Well, the thing that made me successful in the NFL was not my athleticism. I mean, I was the 310th pick of the draft based on my athleticism.
Right.
It was decisiveness. It was understanding what I was supposed to do and allowing myself to do it. If you can take the first step in the right direction before anybody else does, all the angles will change in your favor. The tight end can't pin you in. The guard can't cut you off. The fullback can't keep you from getting to the line of scrimmage. Everything changes. And that's from a 4'9" guy. That's not from a fast guy. That's that first step. That first step made all the difference in the world. So to me, it would be understand what you're supposed to do and then allow yourself to do it. If you're not taking a step, you're never right in the NFL or anywhere you're playing football. You've got to go when it's time to go.
Wow, that's such a good point. Wow. Now, because of the way you played, Karl, you also suffered several concussions. Can you talk about what those concussions have done to your health now that you're retired, and what do you think about the changes that are being made with the NFL today in reference to getting concussions and their testing and so on and so forth?
Well, Sean, the game's the safest it's ever been.
Mm-hmm.
When my grandfather was a little All-American at University of North Dakota in the 20s, and I remember watching a football game with him at Thanksgiving at his house, and we're watching USC play Notre Dame, and Notre Dame is UND, but University of North Dakota is UND, and I hate Notre Dame because they're UND. We're UND. Right, so it was this. So we're watching this game, and he's cussing and screaming. I was watching this game, and I'm saying, well, I looked at my grandfather was maybe 180 pounds, dripping wet. He played nose guard and center at University of North Dakota, but it was the 20s. That's what they did. So
180 pounds.
Right. So I'm the foolish young kid who says, "Grandpa, these guys are really big. I don't know if you could play nowadays." Hell, boy, I played when it was a man's game. Didn't have no pads in my pants. Didn't have no face mask. Had to play both ways. Okay. That's kind of how I feel about the new guys, right? I played in a different era. I mean, when I played, you tried to knock each other out. That was a good play, right? Now it's not that way. And from a health standpoint, I'm as healthy as a horse. I'm fine. I had migraine issues when I was playing from all the concussions. Fortunately, they're not with me anymore. I lose my keys every once in a while, but I'm going to be 60 next month. So, hey, whatever. That's just part of the deal, I think. For most,
whatever, man. It's all good.
That age, right? So I get up and give an hour-long speech, and can do that. My mind's fine. I'm okay that way.
Awesome. After you retired, you were put in the Ring of Honor at the Broncos Stadium, and you're forever remembered as one of the greatest players ever, for that team. As well, I've mentioned you're a prominent figure on the Tecmo Bowl video game. In all seriousness now, when your family and friends see these accomplishments, which is more important to you, man? Because the Tecmo Bowl, you got some serious characters out there. I remember playing it. Come on, man.
I was the man on Tecmo Bowl. It was contracted through the Players Association, and I was the player rep for the Broncos at that time. So all the player reps had like superpowers. So if you know who the player rep is, play that guy. So yeah, ironically, I'm the slow guy in real life, but in Tecmo Bowl, man, I had an extra speed there.
Yeah, man, you had some juice, man. Like I said, I'm 48, man. So like I said, I grew up with you. So, I've played you on the video game. I remember watching, all your games. And yeah, I mean, come on, you're a Tecmo Bowl superstar. So, but come on. But the Ring of Honor is an amazing deal. That had to be something special for you, especially considering, like you said, you're the 310th pick in the draft, and now you're going up in the Ring of Honor. What was that like, being there with your family and stuff?
Yeah, it was special. There's no doubt. And the nice thing is my good buddy, one of my best buddies on the team, Dennis Smith, went in the same year I did. I mean, our families had spent Thanksgivings together, and we spent all kinds of time together, and we still get together whenever we can. What an honor, and especially, like I said, a double honor to go in with Dennis. But great times. The Ring of Fame was Pat Bolin's brainchild. Pat bought the team in my second year with the team. The guy who owned it before him, a guy named Edgar Kaiser, was in it for the money. He was a financier from Canada. Really, there was no reason for him to own the team other than it was an investment. You never saw him around. I don't think he would have recognized me if I passed him on the street. But when Pat bought the team, all that changed. He was there to win championships and serve the community. He was around all the time. He was in the locker room, the training room, the practice field. I mean, he knew my name. He knew my wife's name. He knew my kids' names. I mean, he was the greatest owner I've ever seen. I mean, my last year there, I decided I was going to retire. I went in at the end of the season just to thank Pat for all he'd done for me, and he'd done for the city, and he'd done for the team. Went in. First thing he tried to do was talk me into coming back. I was done. I wasn't coming back. But then he said, "Karl, we signed you as a defensive end at the start of the year. They didn't have a pass rush during training camp. My contract had expired, so they signed me as a defensive end. So all my incentives were set up around playing defensive end, rushing the passer."
Right.
He said, "Karl, if you'd have played defensive end at the level you played linebacker," the guy they had replaced me with got hurt before the first game and during training camp. So I played linebacker the whole season. "If you would have played linebacker, or if you'd have played defensive end at the level you'd played linebacker, you'd have made all your incentives." And he handed me an incentive check going out the door. I mean,
wow.
What an unbelievable guy to play for.
Wow. Yeah, I actually had the honor of meeting him. The Sports Authority actually used to be one of my clients. I used to bring tour groups from Brazil to Sports Authority stores all across the country. And they flew me out. I don't think it's called it anymore, but it used to be the Sports Authority field at Mile High.
Right.
And I got to sit in the owner's box right next to, there was like a glass plate, right? And I'm in the Sports Authority box, and then I turn and I'm like, holy shit, here's John Elway, here's Pat Bolin, his wife, all these big names. And I'm like, man, this is pretty cool. But they had like a glass thing in front of us. So I walk outside, and I'm just standing there. I was there, how the stadium's set up. There's like some vendors and stuff out there. And then all of a sudden, Pat Bolin walks out, and I said, "Hey, Mr. Bolin, I know you have no idea who you are, but it's just an honor to be here and watch your team." There was Peyton Manning was on the team still. They were playing the Jaguars, and he came over. He's like, shook my hand, talked to me for about 5 minutes like I knew the guy. I mean, it was unbelievable. So it was really, and then right behind him, here comes John Elway, and he's like, yeah, hey, John, meet Sean. I'm like, yeah, hey, what's up? How's it going? You know, I'm like, holy shit. So, yeah, it was really a cool moment. And I've heard nothing but good things from him. And that story, you know, that's amazing. Wow. It was tough, I'm sure, for everybody when he passed. But
yeah, it was. Although, you know, he had Alzheimer's so bad he didn't know what he was doing, or you know who was in the room with him or anything, and that's a hard way to live.
Yeah, it is. But you know, he took them to where they're at. You know, the Broncos are definitely, you know, in a good spot right now. They've got a couple of championships in. They got a good young quarterback. You know, the team's definitely looking up. They had a great draft. So, you know, talking now, the Broncos, you know, should be in good shape. So, you know, you're a motivational speaker now, and you do a lot of charity work as well. Kind of talk a little bit about your life after football at a young 59 years, and you know, what is it like now for number 77?
Well, right now I'm doing lots of virtual presentations with the COVID thing. I'm not traveling much, but it's been great. Truthfully, I love what I do. The thing I miss most from football is the adrenaline, that excitement, pregame excitement, and you get up before a group and try to remember what you meant to say, and that adrenaline comes right back. so I get that still. My wife and I are empty nesters, and that's kind of fun. We've raised 3 kids, and they've gone off and done well. So that's been special too. I like to hunt, like to fish. That's a big part of my life. Got a 2-year-old lab that is ready to go when the hunting season starts. I was excited when I heard that 40 degrees and it's the fall there. All right.
Well, there ain't much hunting going on down here, though. Let me tell you. Unless you go into favelas, you might be able to do something down there. But yeah. But what do you, you know, when we talk about motivational speaking, what kind of things do you talk about? What are some of the topics that you go into?
Sure. Yeah. A lot of it's based on my football career. I have keys to success that I talk about: teamwork, with leadership being the ultimate expression of teamwork; courage, the courage to try new things, the courage to be decisive; dedication, which I describe as hard work, constant learning, refusing to quit; desire, that's the dream, the passion, the mission; honesty and forgiveness with yourself, and self-evaluation with others; and finally, goal setting, reasonable, short-term, specific steps that get you to those desires, those passions, those missions. So it's built around those keys to success. I've got a safety speech that I also do for construction companies and you know, electric groups, or you know, groups like that. I've also got a leadership speech that I do quite a bit. It's teamwork and leadership in a changing world, and it's around the C's of leadership, and that's the clarity and consistency of your cornerstones. Like I said, for Mr. B, it was winning championships and serving the community. It's clarity and consistency of your commitment, and that's more of your day-to-day goal, passion, mission. So that would be for the Broncos. It was to win each game. And you know, if you asked Mr. B at the start of the season what our record was going to be, it was always 16-0. And if we'd lost a couple along the way, then it's 14-2, right? I mean, we were expected to do whatever we could to win the next game, and it didn't matter if it changed our draft status or not. We were there to win, and there was no question about that. And then the third C is the clarity and consistency of your connection to your team. John Elway was great at that. I mean, John would sit at a different table every day during lunch, so he'd get to know his teammates and they get to know him, and he could talk to them and understand who they were and what made them tick, and they'd understand who he was and what made him tick. And that was really unusual. I mean, usually those locker rooms are like middle school or those lunch rooms are like middle school lunch rooms with the same cliques at the same table. You know, all the linemen sit together, all the offensive guys sit together, all the white guys sit together, all the, you know, young guys, all the whatever. It's always divided up somehow, except John was somewhere different every day.
Wow. And you know, talking about your locker room, you know, some of you had a lot of characters on your team, man. You know, talk about some of the guys in your locker room. What was that like? What are some things? Because I know, man, as a former player, there's so many stories that you can't even probably tell on here.
Right.
But, what are some of the guys, like who was the prank guy? Who was the jokester? Who was the guy who was kind of remained to himself? What are some things we probably don't know about that locker room?
Well, when I got there, the 77, 78 team that went to the Super Bowl, those guys were still there, and they were leadership guys. And there was Randy Gradishar, Reuben Carter, Barney Chavis, Tom Jackson, Bob Swenson. I mean, that defensive group, unbelievable guys.
Tom Jackson, wow.
Yeah, those guys. So, yeah, Tommy, when you saw Tom on ESPN, that was the same guy that you saw in the locker room, a guy on the field. He just always yapping, always happy and having fun. Randy Gradishar was a big prankster, and you wouldn't think that when you met him, but he was the guy who was, put a snake in somebody's locker. He's the guy who, they used to. One of the funniest pranks I ever saw is Elway was it was a rookie year, and Elway would drive this scooter back and forth to practice at training camp, and he'd get on the scooter and go, and that way he wouldn't have to deal with all the fans and signing stuff. So he had the scooter. Everybody else was walking, but John had this scooter, and he had some sort of interview or something. So we were already back at the dorm room, and Randy and Tom Jackson, a couple other guys were maybe 5 floors up, and they opened a window. And when John backed that scooter out, they dumped a whole garbage can full of water on him from 5 floors up and just flattened everything. Right? And I happened to be in the lobby when this happened. It was the funniest thing ever. So
I had to knock him on his ass.
Oh,
that's a lot of weight coming down, man. But I bet it had to be hilarious. Man.
Oh, it was something. And then he was coming in, and so they had pushed the button when the younger guys were on the higher floors and the older guys were on the lower floors. So they had pushed the button. Anybody coming up, they were going to have it open up so they could see him. Just wet, right?
Oh my God, that's awesome. Now, if you had, you played a long time, man, in professional or college. If you had to pick one moment during your career that was your favorite, what would it be?
I think that the drive game, that whole thing going in with just us against the world attitude and coming out of that thing with a win was as special a feeling as I've ever had in football. That was unbelievable.
Yeah, as a fan, I think I got to look back at that. I think I was 15 years old, 16 years old when that happened, and just as a fan, it was a feel-good story. You felt it. So I can't imagine as a player, just, even on, like I said, like you're on the sideline, even though you had to go back out there, you had to get another stop. But when you went out there, going back to that game for a second, so you got the game tied at 20-all. You got to make a stop. You got to get a 3 and out. You guys had to be so freaking juiced because you're like, man, we're going to win this game. We're about to go to the Super Bowl. We're going to shut them down. I'm not even I didn't even play for that team, and right now I could play. I'm so freaking pumped up just thinking about that moment because it's like, look, the next 3 downs we shut their ass down, man. We're going to the ship because we know we're going to score.
Right? Well, I made 2 out of the next 3 tackles, and I was up. There's no question about that. We had an advantage though. Playing at altitude and living at altitude. At the end of the game, we still had juice, and other teams didn't. Whether it was at home or away. That's why Olympic athletes come train at altitude, right? That's you've got more endurance when you live and you train at altitude.
Yeah, it's such a good point. The first time I went to Denver, I did not like it at all. I'll be honest with you, man. The shortness of breath, just, I went up to, I was there for the week. I was there to spend some time at the home office for Sports Authority. And then I went up to, is it called Blackfeet or Blackfoot, the casinos? Yeah, so I'm up there. It's like 45 minutes away. It's not too far away. And I went up there, and man, it was so freaking. It was even higher going there. So
Oh, sure.
I'm in the casino and I'm sucking wind, man. I'm like, "You want to play blackjack?" I'm like, "Yeah, man, let's do this." And it's amazing. It took me the entire week to get adjusted to what was going on, because again, Florida is like this,
Oh, you're sea level, right?
Yeah, it's nothing. And then you go there and it's like, oh my God. So the advantage, people talk about all the time, is just it's unbelievable. So yeah, and it makes perfect sense that you guys had the wind at the end of that game and had the energy, because again, you train in that. So
Sure.
that's a really good point. We're gonna let you go in just a second. We got a quick rapid fire section we call Slack Attack. That's what they used to call it when I played. So let's go with cups of coffee in the morning.
I don't drink coffee.
Oh, that's easy. Okay. I asked this with Joe as well. Your favorite series on Netflix?
I don't get Netflix.
You don't do Netflix.
Netflix. Yeah, sorry.
Okay. How about besides Denver, what's your favorite stadium that you played in?
Kansas City. I like playing in Kansas City. They had great fans, smart fans, would cheer when it was time to cheer, would be quiet when it was time to be quiet. Just good people. I enjoyed it.
Your favorite teammate?
Probably Dennis Smith. Yeah. That's a hard
Awesome.
one, though. There's a bunch of guys that are.
I know. It's everybody has their groups. It's tough to narrow it down. And best food after 2 a.m.
Well, if I'm up at 2 a.m., it's because I'm going hunting or fishing, so probably oatmeal.
Oatmeal. Wow, there you go. Okay, now you're showing your 59 years, man. Come on now. But hey, Karl, listen, man, it's been a pleasure. It's been an honor, man. I could talk to you for 3 hours easy, talking just football, and I really appreciate you taking the time. We would love to catch up with you some more. Definitely talk to some more of your teammates, man. It'd be great to have them on the show, because this is such a big deal. Like I said, football down here is really growing, and for them to see, a player of your caliber down here, it's not something that you get to see much down here in Brazil. So it's really been a pleasure, and really appreciate your time.
Well, thank you. Can I plug my website? It's karlmecklenburg.com.
For sure.
If people want to hire me, either bring me down there to speak, or they can. I'm doing virtual all the time now, so I can broadcast from home.
What we can do also, Karl, when we edit this and it'll be on YouTube, we'll put that on the video, so they'll be able to see it. And then as well, we can talk off the air. We can talk about that, because we could. I actually work for a translation company. We could actually do your things with subtitles. So
yeah,
that would be a big plus, for that. So yeah, we'll definitely talk some more about that. That'd be great.
I appreciate it. Thanks, Sean.
Okay, care. Man. Take care.
Sorry about the technical.
No, don't worry.
My 60 years old showed up then too.
No worries, man. We appreciate it.
Take care.
All right, take care. Man, having guys on like that, just, like I said, it's an amazing experience. It's such an honor, and it's really one of those deja vu moments, because I'm sitting here going, man, I watched this guy play growing up. I wanted to be him, growing up, because like I said, he was right in the middle of my high school career, or beginning of my high school career, watching some of the games that he played in and the ferocity that he played with. I mean, if you've never watched, you saw a little bit of it in the clips that we showed, but you really have to watch some of the games this guy played, and he was an absolute animal. And those of you watching here in Brazil, we talk about all the time, that's the kind of ferocity and the violence that you have to bring to this game. And, he talked a little bit about it, but it's really a mental thing that you have to prepare yourself before you get on that field. And it's not just at the NFL level, it's at the college level, the high school level. You have to be ready to go. The game itself is fun. You do all the work beforehand. You do all the preparation. You do the studying of the film, like he mentioned. You do the training. you do all the BS with your coaches all week long, and then you get to the game, and then now let's go kick somebody's ass. And just to learn things from people like that, and just like what he said, talking about just working on your first step. I mean, those are things that you just can't know unless you talk to people with that kind of experience. So, wow, what an honor! Wow, the show has been awesome. 2 NFL players, and it's really been an amazing experience. So definitely we're going to talk to you more about that as well. We're going to put Karl's website on, karlmecklenburg.com. Definitely if you want to have some motivate. I know there's some American companies down here. There's a lot actually here in Sao Paulo and all over Brazil that you would want him to come in and speak. We'll definitely talk to more of him about that, and obviously we can mix in the Portuguese and the whole 9 yards. So that'd be really, really something to do. That'd be a lot of fun. Wow. Looking forward towards next week. It's going to be hard to top this week, but we're going to do our best. Our first guest on Tuesday night, we have the CEO, the boss, coming on. From the WFLA. We talked about her a little bit before. Miss Lupe Rose. Now, we're excited to have her on. She's going to talk about her company, the She Beverages, and talk about the league and the development of the new league that's going to start playing in 2021. We're going to be peppering her with questions all about, her development of, her business and with the league itself. And we're really excited to have her on and talk women's American football. Next up, we also have Candy Cook, who's an absolute badass. She's a player that just got picked to play also in that league for the WFLA for the New York Stars. And get this, man, she's a supermodel. Well, she looks like a supermodel. And she's trained to be a firewoman. So, put that all together. Firewoman, supermodel, badass football player. Man, you got the full package. She's a firecracker, and we're excited to have her on. So Tuesday night is really going to be an exciting show. So make sure you tune in. It'll be Tuesday night, August 4th at 8 o'clock Brazil time, 7 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. We really appreciate you coming on tonight. This has been Sean Slack. Victor Hugo says good night as well from his house. And we'll see you Tuesday night. Take care.